We've already done the first part. First part was just some map review, looked at a few places, kind of, you know, covered the north end to the mid lake to the south lake. Now we're doing tackle review. Let's figure out what goes with us. Let's figure out what stays home. We're going to rig up some rods and get them ready to go. I'm going to show you everything I've got tied on, and then we're going to get the tackle organized and get it ready to go. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So here's how I have everything organized. Got a bunch of empty junk boxes here. These two are really important. I'll show you what I do. I always keep 2 empty boxes ready to go, and I'll show you guys why I do that. This is all jigs, swim jigs, football jigs, hair jigs, miscellaneous jigs, and casting and flipping jigs. These are all jig heads, various kinds. I got shaky heads, the hard wobble heads, the Sujin heads. I've got just all kinds. This is all terminal tackle and rigging. We got frogs, bladed jigs, and all sorts of swim baits. Then down here on the next level, this is all my treble hooked baits. So just some random little minnow baits like little spoons, jerk baits, top water, more jerk baits, more top water, big square bills, little square bills, lipless crankbaits, medium crankbaits, deep crankbaits. This is a binder full of spinner baits, and then a binder full of Alabama rigs. And then down here I've got basically just all my plastics. I like these money bags by Bass Mafia. Those things are great for really great for storing plastic. So I kind of keep everything somewhat organized, even though it's actually a mess. But for me, it's actually organized. Got my JB's fish sauce station here that I can have ready to go anytime, and then just more baits, spinner baits, things that I use a lot of. So okay, that's pretty much the tackle selection that we're working with, and I'm going to start digging some stuff out, and we'll start going through it and see what's going to Texas and see what's staying home. Alright, so the best way that I found to do it is to keep all of your tackle in basically these home boxes. You know, I got large square bills, lipless crankbaits, square bills, top water, jerk baits, deep diving crankbaits, medium diving crankbaits. And what I do is I'm just going to go through all these, pick a selection out that I think I want to take with me, and that's what these 2 boxes are for. These 2 boxes will go out in the kayak with me, and all this other stuff is going to either stay at the house, or, you know, I may bring some of it as backup just in case. But that's basically how I do it. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go through here and get a selection, and then you're going to see what I'm actually going to take out in the boat with me right here in these 2 boxes. What I've done here is I've taken roughly 7 boxes and condensed them down into 2. You know, I got deep diving crankbaits, medium diving crankbaits, square bills, lipless crankbaits, magnum square bills, top water, and I even packed some jerk baits. I heard or read a report that maybe they were catching some on jerk baits, so I'm at least going to take some. And what that did was, yeah, that alleviates this box, you know, all these boxes now. They can come, some of them can come in the, you know, with me, but these are the 2 boxes that are only making it out on the water. And basically what I did was, you know, I looked in these boxes, and if I were going to pick a bait out of one of these boxes to throw, it would be one of these. You know, you just got some of those baits that's what you grab. And I grabbed a variety of colors, just to, you know, in case there's any kind of water clarity differences, I can easily switch colors. So that ought to give me plenty to work with right there. So yeah, that's pretty much all my treble hooked baits, and that's what's going out in the boat with me. This is probably the most difficult to pare down. It weighs the most, and you always kind of want to take a bunch of them with you. But these are just, you know, just jigs. These are just my casting jigs, casting and flipping. So you got those, and then this is my mini box. This is what I'll actually take out on the boat with me. These are hair jigs. I'm not taking any hair jigs. Don't really have any confidence in it, to be honest, and I'm not taking it. So back on the shelf they go. Not taking those. Got swim jigs, football jigs, and more football jigs. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pair some things out, get it in this box. This is going to be the box that makes it out in the boat with me. I'll take the swim baits, or I'm sorry, the swim jigs, and I'll take both of these boxes, but they will not, I'm not taking those out on the boat. This will just be my kind of backup supply, and this is what's going to go out on the boat with. I basically got everything pared down into this one blue box. That'll be enough. If I go through that many jigs at once, I'm doing something wrong. So there's plenty of jigs, got every variety I could possibly need out there. I only throw a couple different colors anyway. So this will be the box that goes out, and then of course we've got some backstock that we'll keep, you know, it'll make the trip, but we'll just keep it handy and rock out with this. All right, last but not least is soft plastics. So I'm taking a lot of soft plastics. I'm not really going to go through all this, but I've gone through and cherry picked a bunch of D-bombs and worms, Cincos, all kinds of different crawls. You know, all the stuff that I think I might throw as far as soft plastics go is in here. And this is more my backup. This is, you know, there's several pounds of soft plastics there. And this is going to be what actually makes it out in the boat with me. Basically, on one side I've got this thing crammed full, but that's basically crawls. I got D-bombs, all, you know, rage crawls. I got all kinds of crawls and crawl imitating baits there. And then in this side I've got swim baits and worms, flukes, caffeine shads, that kind of thing. So this is what's actually going to make it out on the boat, and this is my backup soft plastics. And if I need something that's not neither one of these, then I'm probably doing something wrong. So that's what I'm taking as far as soft plastics. All right, so let me show you guys how I organize this stuff and get it in the boat. So here's everything that's going. We've got jig heads, we've got sugin heads, we've got all sorts of crankbaits. That's our other treble hook box. So we've got those, all that good stuff. We got our jigs. Got some blade baits just in case we need to fish deep. And then I've got my terminal tackle, like hooks and sinkers and jig heads. And then I've got my soft plastics. So let me show you guys how I'm going to get all that stuff in my Hobie PA14 and how I'm going to get all this stuff organized. So the first thing is I want my terminal tackle box, because that's probably the box I get into the most. I'm just going to put it right underneath my seat, right there. It's easy for me to get to, and I'll always actually always put it there. That way I always know where it is. I reach right for it anytime I break off or need to retie. Right there, it's always ready to go. The next box I'm going to put in the boat is probably going to be, let's see, it's one of these two boxes. Probably going to be this crankbait box. I don't know how much I'll be into it. We'll probably just put it on the other side right there. So terminal tackle, big crankbait box, and the rest of this stuff is going to go in my H crate. I was trying to think of the best way that I could possibly do this, and I think the best way is probably just going to be, I'll just show you what I've got tied up. This is what I'm going down there pre-fishing with. I've already tied some things on. Yeah, so this is just what I'm going to start out with. I'm going to split it up two different ways. I'm going to show you what kind of moving baits I've got tied on, and then I'll show you what kind of bottom baits I've got tied on. Now, this is what I'm going down there, just, you know, being 800 miles away, thinking I'm going to be throwing. I may get down there and that, you know, this stuff may not apply, but I've got enough stuff tied on. I figure something that I've got is going to work. So I'm just going to show you real quick the moving baits, and then we'll get to the bottom baits and plastics and stuff a little bit later. So the first thing is And I kind of already showed this, but this is the tungsten knocker from Picasso, and this is the heavy cover version. It's got weed guard, three fiber weed guard. Just got a little Reaction Innovations. It's an old pack. I don't know if you can tell, but that white is a little dingy, and I kind of like that. So that's what we're going to start out with. This thing should come through the stumps and the brush and the cover pretty well. It's what it's designed to do. So again, that's the Picasso tungsten knocker, heavy cover, and I'm throwing that on the X-Pride glass composite, 7'2", and I don't know if you can see that or not, but this rod has been really good to me. I just got it not long ago, and been searching for that perfect bladed jig rod, and I think I finally found it. But I got that on the Corrado 6.2 to 1, 16-pound sunline. So we're definitely going to be throwing some of that. All right, the next thing I'm going to be throwing is, you know, you got to throw a little top water down there. Pretty much have to throw some top water. I've been debating whether or not I want to throw a buzzbait or whether I wanted to throw like a Sammy or something walking. And even though this isn't a walking bait, the profile's kind of a compromise. So I'm going to throw the Whopper Popper. Some people hate it, some people love it. I've caught some pretty good fish on it, had some pretty good blow-ups. Had a lot of luck down in Texas on a Whopper Popper 90. So this is the 75 in monkey butt. Throwing it on 20-pound braid on a 7/6 gear ratio Shimano Chronart, and throwing that on a G Loomis IMX Pro crankbait rod. And it's a 7-foot, ½ ounce to 1 3/8 ounce. So yep, that's going to get thrown for sure, and we'll see what happens with that. But definitely throwing some top water. And one thing for sure is with these treble hooked baits, you know, I'm going to have so many rods crammed into this this Hobie. These treble hook baits kind of get in the way, so I'm definitely going to be throwing the bait sack on them real quick. There's all there is to it. Real quick, real easy. Now I don't have to worry about snagging anything, and it just snaps right there. Good to go. And surprisingly, the last moving bait that I really have tied on is just a 6 cents square bill. Just a little square bill crankbait, 14-pound test 4-carbon line. I usually throw 12, but it's Toledo Bend. There's tons of cover, tons of stumps. Not really trying to hook an 8-pounder and try to fight them through. I feel like that extra 2 pounds line actually makes the difference, going from 12 to 14. So yeah, just throwing basic little square bill. Had some pretty good luck on square bill last year, so I feel like that's definitely worth throwing. And again, you know, always putting these treble hook baits in the bait sack. I don't have time to be getting hooked or hooking up other rods. So that's pretty much the extent of my moving baits that I've got tied on. I might tie on a spinner bait. It's hard to say. I don't know that I'll take it out with me the first day, but you know, I might. Now let's move on to some of the bottom baits. You know, this is Toledo Bend, and you know, pretty much everywhere I go, I always have to have a jig tied on. This is a little homemade jig that's made by a guy here local in central Kentucky. Incredible jigs, but got a little bit of orange on there, a little D-bomb as a trailer. Throwing that on an NRX 7'3" heavy baitcaster, 7.4 gear ratio Corrado. Throwing that on 16-pound sunline. Yeah, you know, I pretty much always have a jig tied on. You can flip it, you can cast it. It's good for points, cover, bass eat jigs all year round. So you can't go to Toledo Bend without a jig. You better at least have a jig tied on. Of course, down there they eat a lot of plastic. So this is just a Texas rig D-bomb, 3/8 ounce, little bead, 4-aught hook, 16-pound sunline, 6.2 gear ratio Corrado, and a 7'1" medium heavy NRX baitcaster. You know, this is great for throwing in the grass, throwing in the stumps. You can fish it deep, you can fish it shallow, you can flip it. Super versatile. The bass down there love soft plastics probably more than anything. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if I throw this probably more than anything. Next up, just in case the bite's tough, you know, it's hard to beat just a basic Texas rig trick worm. A little 1/4 ounce weight, little bead, 4/0 hook, just green pumpkin and blue. That's been my go-to for years. Throwing that on a 7'1" heavy G-Loomis GLX. Got a 6.2 gear ratio with 16-pound sunline. And this rod right here has been through it with me. This rod's a workhorse. But you can throw this thing in right in the middle of grass. It'll come right through it, brush piles. So if that bite gets tough and they're not really wanting that big bulky presentation of that D-bomb, you know, I may throw something like this at them, and you know, maybe that's just a little finesse Texas rig. There is all that is. So then, if the bite gets super tough, you know, I don't care what you're doing. If you're fishing a bass tournament, you better have a wacky rig Senko ready to go. I don't particularly like throwing it, but it gets bites. And if you're in a tournament, sometimes you just need 5 bites, you know. So, and big ones will eat it too. So I mean, it's not like you're not fishing for a big bite. But I've got this is a VMC 2/0 weedless wacky hook. I got a rubber O-ring on here. It's just a 5-inch green pumpkin blue Senko. Throwing that on a 7'1" medium heavy NRX. Got 20-pound braided line going to I believe it's a 14-pound fluorocarbon leader. And yeah, I mean, if the bite gets super tough, get around some grass, some docks, you know, I'm not afraid to skip a wacky rig Senko up there, and you know, never know, it might be the thing to fill out your limit. We get a cold front that comes through. I've always found that a shaky head can be the cold front killer. So yeah, you know, and anytime you've got like a rocky point or a little creek channel or something, you kind of always want to have a shaky head ready to go. And I've just got a little hooktail zoom worm on there. Well, it's a super speed or an ultra vibe. I believe it's an ultra vibe speed worm. But got that rigged on an NRX 7'1", extra fast, medium heavy. Again, same setup, 20-pound braid, going to a 14-pound fluorocarbon leader on this shaky head setup. So that's pretty much what I've got rigged up. Right there's my bladed jigs, soft plastics, all my boxes. Got my boxes underneath the seat strapped down. I've already showed you everything I've got tied on my rods here. This is going to be day 1 pre-fishing. Same thing over here. Looks like we're all set. All this stuff is going. This is all backup tackle. You know, you need to bring that stuff. I mean, you never know when there's something in the box you might need. Bringing the frogs, bringing my plastics. I'm even bringing Alabama rigs. Bringing 4 or 5 extra rods just in case. And everything else I think is going to stay at the house. But pretty much what I just showed you, that's what I'm going to start out on. That's going to be my loadout for the first day of pre-fishing. Now I'll bring a lot more stuff just in case I need it. But that's pretty much what I'm thinking right now. You know, top water in the morning. Maybe follow it up with that tungsten knocker from Picasso. You know, if we're not hitting that, throw that square bill a little bit, and then if I have to, I'll slow down with soft plastics and just fish slow and try to get 5 bites. Next time, I guess you'll see me will be, I'll probably do some stuff driving down. I think I'm going to make a stop by Kentucky Lake. Probably won't get a chance to go fishing, but we'll at least get out there and see what Kentucky Lake is looking like on my way. Just trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, this is pretty much how I do it every single tournament. You know, I come home from a tournament and I tear down and get everything back where it goes, and then right before the next tournament I go through this entire process again. So this is just how I do it. And you know, I guess next thing is we'll get down there on Toledo Bend and see if we can start developing a pattern, see what some of this stuff works, maybe some of it doesn't work. We'll just go from there and start going through the map, going through our spots, and just make it a systematic approach, and we'll see what happens. I appreciate you guys watching. If you don't care, hit that subscribe button right there in the corner. It helps me out a lot. And I got a couple giveaways that are coming up. I think you guys are really going to like it. I got some products from some companies that it's really going to be cool. So as soon as I get this stuff in and get everything set up, we're going to do a couple giveaways. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Go check me out on Facebook and Instagram, J Wallin Fishing. Stay tuned, and we'll see you out there. Thanks.